And right now, ICE has recently received 175,000 new employment applications, according to the Department of Homeland Security. The department is looking to beef up deportations as immigration officers are facing protests as well as harassment around the country. NTD Jason Blair is now joining us live. He's been following this topic. So, Jason, welcome back to Washington. I know you've been just in Portland following some protests over there. Good evening, Jason. So tell us the latest on these new applications for ICE.
Hey, Iris. Yeah, so the DHS Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs, Tricia McLaughlin, did confirm, as you said, 175,000 people have applied to work for ICE. She was telling Breitbart's Alex Marlow that they estimate there could be up to 20 million illegal immigrants in the U.S., and the DHS wants to increase their deportation numbers. Here's her talking about that.
Really is encouraging to see that patriots see through the charade of the media. They want to enforce the rule of law, and they want to protect our homeland.
And this as protests have been ongoing against ICE, as well as reports of harassment and even sometimes ICE agents being boxed in while on the road by drivers while they're out in the field.
And meanwhile, speaking of ICE, Jason, you were just in Portland covering the protests outside the ICE facility there. So tell us more after spending almost a week there. Can you describe what it was like?
Well, one interesting thing about Portland I noticed is there's no ongoing police presence as you might normally find at a protest in any other city I've been into, at least. They pretty much aren't there. They might show up occasionally if someone is hurt in a fight, maybe make an arrest, but otherwise there was not any police presence there. And normally people are just kind of hanging out in front of the ICE building waiting for the agents to come out, which they would normally stay inside unless they needed to move some vehicles, which and then they would come out and try to disperse the area so the vehicles could get in and out. And that's when things could heat up between the protesters and the ICE agents. So if you walk in on this, it might normally seem kind of like a random block party if this isn't going on. But however, being there for a week, I did notice there was some organization being happening there. I did notice most likely Antifa related people standing on certain street corners almost all the time, kind of inconspicuously observing what's going on. And interestingly, I saw lawyers and legal workers from the National Lawyers Guild, which they can't be identified wearing green hats or helmets. They have a history of being associated with radical revolutionary groups in their past, and they were seen observing and taking notes during the protests. And also on Monday, a U-Haul truck was seen parked near the facility with some of the protesters unloading a bunch of stuff and putting it on the sidewalk, putting up tents and everything on that. So after being there for a while without the police there, it kind of felt like I was on Antifa's turf a little bit in that area. Sometimes even the protesters were directing traffic when things got congested with people on the street and everything. So there's a lot going on in Portland, and probably a lot of times more than meets the eye. Back to you.
Well, thank you for the update, Jason, and glad that you're safe over there.